welcome back to the Tavern, friends. Before you recruit some new minions for the battle, let me welcome you to episode 29 of Tavern Tales, a Hearthstone Battlegrounds podcast. I am your host, Emily Drunk, and on tap tonight we have details regarding virtual Blizzcon. The esports arena is entering the Battlegrounds, and changes are coming soon, and not Blizzard TM soon, to Battlegrounds ratings. So before we get into the news and introduce you to my co-host, let me just quickly take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight for our live show on Twitch, and thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me in the tavern tonight, as always, is my co-host and Ed. In typical Blizzard fashion, we got a little bit of news dropping the day of recording after we're like, are we doing a show tonight? And then boom, something happened shortly thereafter, and here we are.
Yeah, no, I messaged you and I'm like, we doing a show? Because I'm like, I don't remember anything. And then 10-20 minutes later they sent out the tweet and you just sent me that, and you're like, yeah, I think we should. I'm like, yep, no, we should. We totally should. So I'm glad we got this news, and we'll get the new stuff next week. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely.
Something I wish other games would do, they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, we'll have more details on that here in just a little bit. Let's talk about our weeks in Battlegrounds. So, I'll be honest, Ed, I've been a little bit distracted this week, getting myself familiarized with the character I'm going to play in Shadowlands for World of Warcraft, because I'm back to playing WoW, primarily because I found a raid team that is composed of about 80-85% of the people that I had raided with prior. And, not raiding was kind of the reason why I was shying away from WoW in the first place, but, it's a casual raid team, but some really great people all in all, so I'll be looking forward to doing that in a bit. So been pretty distracted playing my elemental shaman, getting back to playing on Tumbly Drunk, which has been interesting to say the least, especially knowing I was going to be playing my druid, but since I hadn't really been on for all of BFA, I was like, you know what, let me just use my boost on my shaman. And of course, with the boost, the shaman was already a higher item level than a druid, and I was just like, well, that's a thing. And I'm just like, F this, and then I started playing the shaman, and the rest is history. But anyways, in regards to Battlegrounds, kind of a quieter week because of that. I did hop on a little bit earlier to knock out a couple of games for the podcast, but outside of that, it's kind of been more of a focus. You and I have kind of been doing, spectate games, to kind of, get you out of the rut that you were kind of in, just seeing, what was going on there. And otherwise, it was on, my alt account, which was at 4480 at the start of the week. And, I know we only played a couple of games at that one session, but I ended up at 4774. But the main account, only a couple of games earlier, ended at plus 86, which puts me at 7343. So I'm still, right now, trying to make up all of the rating that I had lost towards the start of this patch. But, I'm feeling right now, knowing that there's a reset coming, I'm not really going to be pushing myself too hard. So, I'm sure we'll get back to that point eventually, but I feel like now I do have a much better understanding compared to, day one of this greed patch that is still kind of, ongoing, where we're starting to see more and more pieces starting to fall into place now.
Yeah, we definitely are. I think, we're, like you said, we're seeing stuff fall into place here, and everyone who saw the demise of Murlocs, surprisingly, they're starting to perform again. They don't need Divine Shield. It's just less of an insta win than before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. I've actually done pretty well. I hit a slide where I wasn't quite fully, I was fine early game, fine late game. The mid game was doing me in. dealing with this meta, and so we worked through that, and I've done well. I've been climbing ever since. I'm just short of 6K again. I've got 2 first place finishes, a second place finish, and 2 fifth place finishes in my past 5 games. So I can't really argue with that. I also set a record for my biggest minion.
Okay.
144, 144. So that is my new record.
Has to be a pogo.
No,
It's not.
no,
Wow.
it's what's his name? The pirate. Why am I drawing a blank?
Which
Gold
one?
Digger.
Gold Grubber?
Gold Grubber. Yeah, Gold Digger. That's the Kanye West song. Gold Grubber. Yeah, I got a Gold Grubber very early and tripled it very early and just went from there. It was with patches and pirates, so I was very easily getting triples. So I had a full board of like triples. Almost. Nice. So yeah, it was quite easy. So yeah, no, it's been pretty good. I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, and here we are, and we have a lot more stats on hand with this current patch. According to hsreplay.net, we are already at 9 million games. Lo and behold, after everything got situated, Jandis Barov is still the only tier 1 hero with an average placement of 3.64. Now, I was trying to think, like, I wish we had, like, old sets of data in regards to heroes to see where that ranks among, like, any hero on any given build, because that average placement is pretty damn high, and I can't really remember one outside of maybe Tyrion that was even close to that.
Was what's his name? The one that got nerfed into the ground. Let me bring it up here. What's his name? That gets you a free minion. Free gold minion. That's now tier 4. Why? Hook Tusk. Hook Tusk and Eudora might have been up there. Might have. It could be. So, but yeah, I don't think we've ever seen one this high, and it's just baffling to me because it is a hero power that essentially you truly really only have one strong comp with it.
I mean, I've seen some other things work with it, but in the current landscape of the game, like, let's say there's a case where Murlocs are out of the rotation and you have Jandis in, your lobby. Obviously, it's going to be a lot harder for you to acquire any sort of poison, because at that point, your only option is to get to tier 6 in order to get the Amalgadon. So there's been a couple of instances where we have started to see kind of like the Divine Shield Dragon type compositions being able to match or even surpass some of the Jandis builds that are going on. But like, as I mentioned, like, on our last episode, like, yes, Jandis is in a really good spot, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's automatic with that particular hero. Because if you try to force the pogos, chances are it might not even happen. It's always better to fill your board rather than just keep spamming your reroll. And, even in the game that I did win, I did have to basically counteract how my opponent was trying to counterplay me, kind of like knowing, what moves they were going to make in order to try to get rid of the biggest minions. But either way, like, it seems like there's a pretty big divide in regards to a lot of the popular Battlegrounds players, with Jandis in particular, where, not all of them are having the best of luck, and some are even shying away from Barov altogether.
Yeah, I mean, I don't instantly pick Barov. I mean, the thing to me is, I will take Maiev, Lich King, Omu, Refam, Sunstrider, Noisdormu. Like, I will take all of them over Barov. There's just so much that has to go your way for this to really work. Like, one, mechs have to be in there. Because let's be real, like you could do anything, any other comp, but it's only tier 1 because of the pogo hoppers. That's it. So one, mechs have to be in there. Okay. 2, you have to actually get pogo hoppers early on. So it's like, yeah, that is really, really, really iffy. Right. It's also one of those things where if you look at if you look at the placement, like you have the same percentage of getting 4th place as you do 8th place. Like it's basically it's first or not with this guy.
I mean, it's
maybe
only...
second, depending on if you're going up against Poison Murlocs.
The low
That's really the only thing.
The low first place percentile of 28.79.
It's super high. If you survive, you're gonna win, like most likely. But I don't like the simple fact that it's if there's just so much that has to go into it. That's why I'm just surprised that it's that high of a average placement.
Yeah, it's not.
But the numbers don't
even
lie.
Keel, in regards to like the tier 2 minions when you're just looking at the top 4 percentages there.
So it's I'm not. I get why it's tier 1. It's not an auto pick for me. Not like Hook Tusk or Eudora, Maiev, Rafam. Rafam is the ultimate insta lock. I don't care at this point, at least for me. Like that is hands down my best character, and it's not even freaking close. I think I looked today. I have more I've doubled the amount of first place finishes with Rafam than my second, number 2. So it's like, oh yeah, no, there's something's going right here. So yeah, I'm not completely sold on Jandice. I get she's super powerful. It's just not my thing.
Right on. Well, let's jump into the news for this week, Ed, because we do have our official announcement for virtual BlizzCon. This was coming a couple of months following Blizzard's decision to cancel BlizzCon 2020 due to COVID. So, initially they're like, okay, we're looking at a virtual format. It'll be early 2021. And now we do know that we have BlizzCon Line taking place on February 19th and February 20th. So, obviously, right now, not a whole lot of details. They are still doing some of the contests. Like, I know they have the cosplay exhibition. They have a cosplay contest, the art contest. They're doing a contest for digital storytelling. They got a talent spotlight. They're still doing like a March of the Murlocs type thing. I didn't really read all the details in regards to how they're going to do that. I'm assuming people are just going to like film a clip and then they're going to have like a montage video of some sorts for that in particular. But obviously, if we're talking BlizzCon, of course, it's all about the game announcements. And, obviously, it's kind of like bittersweet news on the Overwatch front, knowing that, that would be 15 months, essentially, since the last Overwatch 2 update, which, we'll gripe about next Wednesday for sure on Heroes Never Die. But in regards to Hearthstone, obviously, like, this past year was when we got the Battlegrounds announcement. We got our, first-hand experience with it. Didn't really know what to think of it initially, but, it was kind of... Battlegrounds came out, or was announced at a time when I was really on that auto chess kick. It was kind of at a time, too, where, I've fallen in and out of love with Hearthstone as a game.
Yep.
Just because I don't like the constant need to feel like, at the start of every expansion, okay, I need to bite the bullet, I'm gonna buy a bundle, and I'll just push from there. Like, it feels like there's still a necessity to get as many cards as possible in order to be competitive. Now, granted, since then, they have like the whole like return in player decks that they have been given players, so they've helped alleviate some of the issues that I have had. But obviously, right now, my focus is entirely on Battlegrounds when it comes to Hearthstone.
Hmm.
So, here we are. It is late September. Uh, you know, Obviously, still several months until BlizzCon, and it kind of got me thinking about the timing, because obviously we know that the Raiden Reset is happening this next week, and if we're talking about doing a cycle of every like 3 to 4 months, that really doesn't line up necessarily with February. So I don't quite know what to make of it, but on a Battlegrounds front, what would you expect to see, looking ahead to February? Like, would this be the next indicator of when we would get an additional tribe? Or
Yeah, it's obviously you're never gonna get anything too crazy at BlizzCon in the form of announcements for Battlegrounds, because there's only so much they can do. Like, it's a new tribe, some new heroes,
Mhm.
and then maybe some other things, like some other
Spectator updates.
features, spectator updates, stuff like that. They can't like do too much in
Mhm.
regards to it because it's just not that kind of game. You're not like waiting around for WoW. You're not waiting for Shadowlands, like stuff like that. So I expect a new tribe to be almost like the yearly BlizzCon expectation. Um, and that's just kind of what I expect. I expect a new tribe and like 3 new heroes,
Mhm.
maybe 4. And the thing is, Battlegrounds won't be that big of a deal there because Hearthstone is still the bigger game. It's like, Hearthstone, oh, and Hearthstone Battlegrounds. Now, it's getting closer and closer to being on that same level as Hearthstone, but it's not there. So it's definitely something I'm looking forward to, and I know we probably have some stuff planned for the BlizzCon. It just sucks because
Mhm.
like my best like actual BlizzCon, like I'm not talking like seeing and hanging out with people part of BlizzCon. Like my best thing, the thing that I remember the most about the actual BlizzCon event was when me and you sat down to play Battlegrounds
Mhm.
because I had never played an auto battler,
Right.
and we were like, oh, let's try it because the line was short. Like like that's the thing is like the
Mhm.
line was just short, and then we went to play, and I'm like, oh, this is fun, and like I think that's the only one that we actually went back to multiple times to play.
Mhm.
Um, and you know what? It works. I love it. It's one of those few things where, what was it? The first tweet when they like tweeted out the reset. The first response was quit hiding everything behind a paywall, and
Right.
I'm like, this is the least paywall I've ever seen in my life. Like, so you have fewer heroes to choose from. That's the paywall. So, yeah, I'm expecting a new tribe. Maybe like the problem with constantly getting new tribes is you have to recycle tribes,
Mhm.
which could get troublesome. You know what I mean? Like if we start getting too many, then demons are out for like 6 months, or but that's something that they'll try and figure out. We still have a couple tribes before that becomes a thing.
Right.
So
Absolutely. I mean, for me, the big thing, just win recent turn events would have to be spectator updates. I figure regardless, the new heroes, new tribes are going to come in time
yeah.
regardless. But, the more events that we see happening, the more inclined the dev team is going to be in order to give us better tools in order to continue to put on events. So, speaking of which, we do have Esports Arena that are hosting a Battlegrounds tournament called the Battle Blitz, and this is a Battlegrounds tournament that's being casted by two familiar voices in Slissa and Sun Glitters. So there's $10,000 USD in prizing on the line, and we have open qualifiers that are starting this weekend. And I know, I think they had 4 different dates for open qualifiers.
Yep. Basically September 26th, October 1st, 3rd, and 8th.
Yep. And then for the finals of the Blitz, that will be on October 10th, starting at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and that will be streamed at twitch.tv/esportsarena. So again, we'll definitely be covering the event once it happens. In this tournament is going to be using a point-based system. So in the lobbies, points are awarded to the top 4 players. First place nets you 5 points, second place gets 4, third gets 2 points, and then fourth place gets 1 point. So with the qualifying stages, basically what's going to happen is, after the first round, if you did not acquire a point, you're automatically dropped from the tournament. And then later on in the tournament, with each round, as we get further in, you're required to have a minimum amount of points in order to qualify for that round. And, eventually they'll whittle down the competition until there's, I'm assuming 8, I would guess, for the final lobby for that October 10th broadcast.
Yeah. Think World Series of Poker style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Well, how I fully expect it.
Yeah, I know. After I sent you the tweet about it, you're like, oh, you should sign up. The signups went really quick. I know there's a wait list beyond that, but again, most of these matches take place during the weekend. Doesn't really give me an opportunity to sign up. But regardless, I'm gonna be watching. I'm looking forward to it, and it's always gonna be good seeing Slissa and Sun Glitters casting the games as well. So I like that we're kind of starting to see more of these cornerstone pieces, specifically when it comes to Battleground events.
Yeah, it's really cool. This is the first major tournament to occur. I say major, first major non-Blizzard held tournament. I know Blizzard held the tournament with the streamers and stuff like that, but this is the first non-Blizzard held major event. So definitely something that I think will be fun to watch and to see how not just how the turnout is, but how the spectator mode works for them. That is the biggest thing that I am worried about. Is how stale will it be?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be interested to see once they release who's all in it, to see who's actually in it.
Yeah, because they said they were gonna have streamers involved with it. So I don't know if that meant half of the final lobby will be streamers and then the other half be players from the qualifying rounds. So the way that
I would think that they put the streamers in the general pool, and they have to compete to win. That's how I would assume it. I would be pissed if they automatically gave some spots in the finals to streamers. I get why they would, but it'd be shitty.
It'd be more for publicity, than anything. Well, time will tell, but obviously the big news this week was the news that dropped earlier this afternoon, and that is about the Raiden Reset. Now, this is something that we had talked about that was through the Group Q thread on Bob's Tavern Reddit, where we saw Ixar commenting that, hinting we're going to have Raiden Resets coming. Didn't quite expect them to be coming this soon, though. So next week, all players' Battlegrounds Raidens are going to be reset to 0. So we have a new rating system making its debut next week. And in the tweet, they're like, we'll have more details coming soon.
Yeah. So while we've been podcasting, Ixar actually tweeted out something.
Okay. I have two things written down that are both from
Okay.
Ixar, that were through like Reddit.
Okay. This was posted on Twitter 30 minutes ago. He was responding to a thread where he said the new system will work very similar to how ranked ladder works now. So you reset to bottom, you go back up at the speed that correlates to what your skill level is.
Okay.
So if you're the way it works now, like if you where you were at, like let's say those 9K, 10K people, you come down to the bottom. If you place in the top, top 3, you might get double the amount of ranking to a certain point to get you back up quicker. And that's how it is in ranked ladder now. Like if you're a legend, you fall back, but with each win, you gain 10 stars. So you go up like they have like silver 1 through 10. You may be starting at silver 7, and one win gets you to silver 2. Just from that one win, based on all of that. That's how it is. Also, he did point out something interesting.
Okay.
That on top of your rating, you have an internal MMR. And they are separate. So, that's actually kind of interesting that there's 2 ratings. There's, the actual rating, and then you have an internal MMR. So,
I like it. But anyways, like some of the comments that he had on Reddit were kind of similar. And there were two things here. So Ixar commented that you're still going to see one number like you do now. You'll just start at 0 each season, and then after 30 to 40 games, roughly, your number should catch up to roughly where it should be, and you'll experience a rank system, which is the visible 4 or 5-digit number, depending on what your rating is. So it's basically identical to the one we're seeing now in regards to like the actual rating. He says, we only plan on resetting every 4 months, so if you like the current system, I think you'll like the new one too, because they do work in a similar fashion. Now, obviously with feedback, we could start to see different variations to the system, whether it is just what point they reset to, how often it does occur. But Ixar did say that the first reset is planned to be 3 months in, then every 4 months afterwards. But again, like this is going to be the first time we have a reset in Battlegrounds, so we could see a number of different things change. But the real question at the end of the day is, Ed, 2 things. 1, are we going to have any changes to group queuing with this system? And 2, should we expect to see any sort of balance updates with this new rating system in place? Because you would imagine there's going to be a patch next week in order for them to implement this system in the first place.
I mean, I would assume that we get some sort of like balance update, maybe a new hero or 2, stuff like that. Maybe a new card. I wouldn't go too crazy. I don't think they need there's a whole lot from a card perspective that needs to be changed, because there's not that one card that is super oppressive right now. Not that, at least in my mind, that I can think of.
The only ones are at the tail end of the game anyway.
Exactly, and that's where you kind of want the super powerful cards. So yeah, I they could add a hero or 2, or add 1, remove 1, do something. But I don't see it being anything too drastic.
Yeah, I do find it interesting though, like that the current number that we have isn't like the actual MMR. so I wonder, like, let's say in our duo queues, if it's still going to base things off of like the higher scaled player in this case. But who knows?
I would assume so. Like, the other question that raises for me is, do they, since they have an internal MMR not with your rank, are we gonna get a non-ranked mode?
I mean, outside of private lobbies, you mean?
Yeah, outside of private lobbies. I mean, I would assume not. I don't think that's be too that popular of a feature.
Mm-hmm.
But if they have internal MMR, I mean, it's definitely something that's doable. Definitely something that's doable.
Yeah, I can see that, because right now, obviously, like, the big thing, at least since, like, the last update with the introduction of Battlegrounds parties, is we have seen a lot of players starting to shy away or see more significant losses because of group queues and not knowing, in your lobbies, who's partnered, how many people are in the stack, or, how big the stack is, or anything like that. And we've kind of talked about how right now in this current patch, greed is king. You see a lot of players leveling up very aggressively. Now, granted, with Omu, that's just kind of how that character in particular like works due to his hero power. But you kind of have to pay attention to players that are leveling ahead of what the normal curve is to kind of have an indicator of if that person is leveling because they are with a duo partner, or a trio or quad stack
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. So it's a lot of like keeping tabs on the lobby to kind of get an understanding. And I don't like right now, I'm not really paying too much attention to that. I'm just focusing on what I'm doing. And if I'm seeing a lot of other players starting to greed a lot more than normal, then I'm not like sticking around being like 2 steps behind trying to fill out my board. I'm trying to basically just keep pace with them, because if I just dig around and just kind of like stay situated, I'm only doing myself a disservice, and I'm only falling further behind because they are being greedy in their own right. So definitely keep an eye on how much quicker some players are leveling, because there have been quite a few instances here, like within the past week, where I would say on average I'm going to like Tavern 5. I would say like 2 turns ahead of when I would normally be leveling on a character by character basis. And it's worked out very well so far. This past week compared to initially
Mm-hmm.
that first week when I was kind of dragging my feet a little bit too much trying to get situated and just adjusted to the current tempo and the play style that's happening here in BGs.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. It's one of those things where I definitely realize that I need to be a little bit more aggressive in regards to leveling up and trusting my board. Um, that's just not something that I'm used to doing. But that just seems to be the way things are going.
Mm-hmm.
I have noticed it, and it does make sense that people are getting more aggressive because of the teaming up system. Because like I mean, we had that when it was just two of us.
Right.
Like me and you would be like, "Oh, we're facing each other. Let's just level up." And stuff like that. So it would make complete sense. Um maybe they reduce it down to uh you can only gain um rank with 2 in a group.
Okay.
Back to 2, maybe 3. I don't know. Like I don't know what the solution is going to be here. Like do you pair 4 stacks only up with other 4 stacks? Because those queues would take for fucking ever. 35-minute queues for a game. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know how they fix something like that. But again, I don't know if it's that huge of a deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of hope when this Raiden Reset does come into play, that we get an update, at least stat-wise, in regards to rating distribution. Because we haven't really had one of those since, like, early March was the last time we saw one being posted. Because I'm kind of curious to see, like, where nowadays I would be at percentile-wise compared to the player base, compared to where I was all those months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's... I completely get it. It's definitely going to be... I'm very excited. It's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks with Battlegrounds
Yeah,
to see
well,
how this all occurs. And I think gone are the days of having alt accounts. Really? Like, are you gonna try and level up 2 accounts every 3 months?
probably not. Then again, you know, I'm looking at, like, that after 30 or 40 games number. I was like, Jesus Christ. I'm lucky to play 8 games a week, and now they're talking 30 to 40 games? That's a lot to go through. But we'll see. But anyways, that will move into, you know, the best time of the year. You know, some people, they like to celebrate the 31 days of Halloween. You know, some people like to celebrate Christmas in July. But every day, we like to celebrate our favorite pastime and present time of blaming Celestalon. Now, wait, I'll be honest. You know, you can see our little buddy over here on my left shoulder. He's, looking pretty unfazed right now. You know?
Yeah, we haven't had to stab Celestalon the plush yet.
Yeah, the scamming has been almost, like, practically non-existent. And now, granted, you know, I have a small game pool here this past week, so, you know, there's less data to kind of, like, filter through and everything. But I haven't had anything that's been so egregious that we, you know, put a needle in him.
Yeah, no, I haven't either. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't had anything really that bad happen. In Battlegrounds, I don't know if there's anything I could, you know, come up with really. Celestalon, you survive a week.
You know,
Like, I haven't had any of those, like, 5% losses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't had any of that. So, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, like, really the only thing that comes to mind with me is, you know, earlier I had a lobby win, which I wasn't expected to win because, you know, it was Final 3. I ended up, like, knocking someone out, and then the other player that was in the lobby ended up getting knocked out by a ghost, and I was like, huh, that happened. You know, and then for the next game I queue up, and my options were as such: Syndragosa, Tess Greymane, Queen Wagtoggle, and Dino Tamer Bran. And I'm just like, really, Celestalon? You know, it's like,
But didn't
you gain...
What place did you finish there?
With Bran?
Yeah.
4th.
See, you know what?
Which
Not the worst.
I honestly did not think I deserved a 4th place in that, because I did stay on 2. I tried to run pogos. I didn't stay on 2 for, like, every turn or anything. I stayed on there for a couple of turns, really wasn't finding too much, and then I was starting to level. But, you know, I was probably, we'll say, 3 or 4 turns kind of behind the leveling curve in regards to that particular lobby. But I just find it funny, though, after, you know, you have a really good performance or a lobby win, and you queue up again for that next game. You know, you try to build off of that momentum, and then you're just left with a ton of, like, tier 3 or tier 4 options, and you're just like, come on, guys. Like, are you just trying to swing the pendulum back the other way? You know, you're just trying to undo all of the work that I just did in my prior game. And then I'm basically going to have to play a couple more games in order to make up what I'm going to lose in this one. because you decided to turn the tides on me all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, like, we've all had those. I think I had a game where my number one choice was George the Fallen. Um, but it's all in how you make it and how lucky you are. Yeah, having the hero helps. I think I took second in that one because I got an early Cave Hydra,
Hmm.
which always helps. But you know, it's you win some, you lose some, Totem.
Yeah, I think the biggest uh the biggest indicator of my week, at least on the wrong end of the pendulum, was the game I had with Reno Jackson
Mm.
earlier today, where I was waiting until like turn 7 or turn 8 before I decided to triple, what the best option was. In my case, in this particular game, it was a gold grubber. And I was going to transition to pirates because I had another gold grubber on the board. I got some of the buffer pieces for pirates as well, and then I was going up against a soul juggler build that had two soul jugglers on the board and heavy taunts, which did include some of the Void Lord, the one that spawns the Void Walkers when it dies with the Death Rattle. And I was like, all right, we'll see what happens here. But unfortunately, I transitioned so late that a lot of my pirates really didn't have that many stats. And then here I am, still waiting on my initial attack, or just trying to get through those initial taunts. And all of my pirates were dead, and I got knocked out on like turn 9. So essentially, I took rounds 1 and 3, I lost every other turn with Reno in that game, and it just did not feel good in the slightest. It's a
I
rough
don't
week.
blame you for that. Like that's shitty. I've been getting burned by pirates so much lately. I just
Hmm.
need to stop playing them.
Yeah, they're just taking
Like
too long to get going, and when games are ending quicker and being decided, top 4 in sometimes by turn 9 or 10, like just not enough time to find those key pieces.
mhm. Like and the thing is like unless you get those key pieces early,
Right.
you can't even contemplate competing in the end game.
Hmm.
Like so it's a very troublesome build. I'm not I think pirates need some loving.
They do. All right. Well, that's basically everything going on this past week. Just as a reminder, we are doing Community Battlegrounds on Sunday, October 4th, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So be sure to reach out to us and join our Discord at bit.ly/tavern discord. And like if we don't have a huge turnout, maybe we could just see if Bob's Tavern Cast want to do some private lobbies that night. But either way, obviously join the Discord. It's the best way to keep up to date with all the happenings in Battlegrounds, stay connected with us, as well as the podcast, the community, all of that good stuff. And, hopefully we'll have some events happening outside of that with our podcast rifles in that case. But if you guys are looking to help us out, please do us a favor and head on over to iTunes and write us a review. Let us know how we're doing and if there is anything you would like to see us incorporate into the show. We are open ears, we're an open book, so feel free to reach out to us. And of course, if you would like to reach out to us, you can do so a number of different ways. So, Ed, please let our listeners out there know how they can do just that.
Oh, right. So you can email us at tavernTalesPodcast@gmail.com. You can come over to Twitter, and that's at TavernTalesHS. We are streaming live on Twitch at twitch.tv/TavernTalesHS, Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. You can come over to our Discord, and that's at bit.ly/Tavern Discord. You can follow me, Edinar, personally on Twitter, and that's at Edinar83, or on Twitch at twitch.tv/Edinar. Totem, where can they find you at?
Well, you can find me over on Twitter at TumblyDrunk, as well as Twitch at twitch.tv/TumblyDrunk. All right, guys, well, that will do it for us here tonight on Tavern Tales. Again, this has been episode number 29. I've been your host, TumblyDrunk, joined, as always, by my co-host, Edinar. And And let us know what you think about the new Raiden system and what changes, we might get to see this next week. So next week should be fairly interesting. Be sure to get your games in. Best of luck in your battles ahead, and we will see you guys back in the tavern soon. Take care and have a good night.
Peace.